I call to order the Thomasville City Council meeting for Monday, March 17th, 2025. And welcome all of you here in the chambers this evening. I have a list here from the school system, so I'm going to read off the names that I were given this week to be present. So some of you, I don't really know you, maybe, so I do know others. Carmen Concepcion, Chief of Schools and Wellness she just came in. Glad to have you. Yes. And one of our former colleagues here on the dais is Wendy Sellers, who is now the chair of the school board. Glad to have you. I don't see Nancy Staten. She was down to come. And Tiffany Beluga Brannon, another school board member, was on my list to come. Now, is anyone else here representing school system? And tell me who you are.
Shamila Flowers, Director of Exceptional Children.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us. Yes. Also, the chamber representative, Amy Boozer, I don't see her here yet either. But thank you for all of you who are here, and any member of the press that might be present, and those of you joining us this evening on our website or on social media. I welcome each one of you. First order of business this evening is additions and deletions to the agenda. Mr. City Manager.
Afternoon, Mayor. I would like to request council add 2 items to the agenda this evening. The first is an addition to your closed session, item 8, which is to add a discussion that will prevent the premature disclosure of an honorary degree, scholarship, prize, or similar award, which of course I will explain when we go into closed session what that's for. And then also under regular agenda 7, I would request that you add C, which would be a further discussion of Palace Theater study. We've gotten some update information, so we just want to update council on that from our briefing meeting, from our committee's meeting earlier this month, just to bring you up to speed on that discussion. Those are my 2 requests.
Okay, having heard this, what's the pleasure of council?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended by our city manager.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, you may put in your votes. And we have 6 affirmative, so the agenda has been approved. We're now down to public forum. We had no one to sign up tonight for public forum, so we will move right along to recognitions and presentations. I'm going to recognize Councilmember Scott Stires again to present this proclamation of Public Health Month, April 2025.
Right.
That's Janet Walker.
That's correct.
I have Janet Walker with me from the Health Department and wanted to read this proclamation. Proclamation by the Mayor for Public Health Month, April 2025. Whereas the Davidson County Health Department has served the community for more than 100 years and has provided immeasurable contributions to enhancing the quality of life of our residents. Whereas public health programs have evolved over the past century from a focus on sanitation and controlling the spread of infectious diseases to now also preventing the onset of chronic diseases. And whereas a significant increase in life expectancy is widely credited to improvements in public health programs. And whereas public health promotes improved lifestyles by providing services and supporting policies to help young people stay well and develop into healthy adults. Now therefore be resolved that Raleigh York Jr., Mayor of the City of Thomasville, does hereby proclaim the month of April 2025 as Public Health Month and encourages all citizens of Thomasville to take steps to protect and promote the health and well-being of their families by making healthy personal lifestyle choices and seeking regular preventative health care. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Would you like to say anything?
I
just a little blurb, but I just want to thank the council and mayor for this proclamation. We appreciate it. The Davidson County Public Health Department is very thankful for our collaboration, our partnership, and helping the community and making sure that our communities know about healthy choices, they know about prevention, they know about all sorts of things that will better their lives and hopefully lead to long, healthy lives. So I also brought some information about the Community Health Needs Assessment is going on right now, and this is a partnership. It's actually done all across the state, but right now we are collecting responses and hoping to hear from as many citizens of all backgrounds, demographics that we possibly can. So I'll leave some information here. If we can help get the word out, we sure would appreciate it. And thank you again for having me.
Did you get your picture that you want? Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
And also to let you know, we have posted that survey through our social media, is that correct? And at City Hall, so we are trying to do our part.
And thank you very much for being here tonight. Now down to public hearings. Item 5A is consideration of ordinance to repair or demolish. The address is 2 Westwood Avenue. The owner is Paula Jean Grant. And then the ID number of the property is 16338E00B0060. I'm going to recognize Chuck George, our planning director, and our city attorney may have some input on this as well.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. At 2 Westwood Street, the owner, as you stated, is Paula Jean Grant. And on October the 31st of 2024, the code enforcement officers went to said property and found use and deteriorated conditions of the home. On December the 6th, 2024, we notified the owner by certified mail and posted the property of the hearing to be conducted in the inspector's office on December the 18th at 10 a.m. Present at the appointed time and place for the said hearing was the owner, Paula Jean Grant, and her daughter, Chloe. A finding of facts was served at the meeting to bring the house in compliance with the minimum housing standards within 60 days. To date, the house doesn't meet the standards at this time. We have received numerous complaints from the neighbors, and this property has had at least 130 police department related calls. The trash has increased and the people has moved into storage buildings, as I've learned today. Also, I checked with the water department. They have an outstanding $2,000 invoice for removal of service because water has been stolen at this place. And also they have a $1,400 outstanding bill, as well as $155 in deposit and service charge, with the total amount of $3,564. That is my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you have anything to add to that, Misty?
The only thing that I want to add is everything Chuck said is correct, and I do concur with him. Additionally, I've had some complaints come in through my office of folks that are residing in the house that have drug a washing machine into the next door neighbor's driveway and stolen power and water from the next door neighbor and are doing their laundry in the driveway, discharging it out into the driveway, as well as some other complaints. So there's lots of issues going on.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I declare the public hearing open, so anyone that would like to speak to the public hearing, you may come forward. Not seeing anyone approach the podium, I declare the public hearing closed and defer to council for action.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the demolition of this property based off the finding of fact presented by Mr. George.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Now, is there any discussion or questions?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I think there's a gentleman in the audience.
I do have the deed right here that was signed over to Chloe, which she just showed up. She should be walking in any time, so. Yeah,
you want to present information, come to the podium.
Yeah, you have to come to the podium.
We'll have to reopen.
I have closed the public hearing.
Can it be reopened?
Yeah. Do you wish to reopen the hearing, council?
I'll make a motion to reopen the public hearing.
Okay. Okay, any opposed to that, or?
No, I doubt this gentleman probably didn't understand that was his opportunity.
Yeah,
So-
I do apologize.
Okay, any opposition? Okay. I declare the public hearing reopened, and you can speak to the council concerning your concerns with it or whatever.
I've never really done this, so how can somebody help me out a little bit?
First, we would like to know your name and
Yes.
your address, please.
Sorry, I apologize.
For the record.
My name is Chloe Grant, for the record. My address on my license is 2 Westwood Avenue, but I am currently bouncing around. I am actually the daughter, and I don't know how you guys look at it. I've been told that a piece of paper that is signed and notarized is a legal standing document. If that is the case, then I'm the owner of 2 Westwood Avenue. The deed was signed over to me by my mother, who is going into an assisted living due to the situation that has arose with this, my grandfather dying. We just feel like that would be the best thing for her. And because obviously there has been a lot of issues going on with the house. Some were in her control, some of them weren't. But the last thing that Papa did for her before my grandmother died actually was gave her this house. So that's what I'm trying to do, is save it, not for myself, not for her, so much as something that I'll be able to give my kids whenever my kids are old enough. I've got 3 kids who are in DSS custody right now. I am fighting to get them back. So there has been quite a lot going on with my kids as well as with the house. So no, not all of my focus has been on the house. Not all of my focus has been on my kids. And that's what I've got to get back to. I've got to be able to get this house back the way it needs to be, which I am in the process of doing. The only thing right now is I'm waiting on a deposit from a 401k to hit a friend of mine's account. He was nice enough to loan me the money, but we're waiting on the deposit now to be able to pay the owed taxes on the house in order to be able to sign the deed over. Hence why it is still technically, I guess, in her name. I have a non-warranty deed here that is signed and notarized. It was actually done at the Register of Deeds before we knew that those taxes had to be paid. So, I mean, there is that. My mom's disabled and in a wheelchair. Somebody hacked into her bank account back in November, and we spent 4 months with absolutely no income. And it's just me and my mom. We have nobody. We have, yes, I have my uncles that are uncles, but I have nobody that I can really pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I need help with this, or hey, I need that. I don't even have transportation. Me and him just walked over an hour here just to even be able to be here to try and save what little bit I do have. But when her account got hacked, she spent like 4 months with absolutely no income at all. None. I myself have been working here and there, but it's not enough to pay everything that needed to be paid after somebody came while we were staying in a hotel and illegally reconnected the stuff. Said person who reconnected is actually currently sitting in Davidson County Jail. So I didn't know what to do. I reached out to CCM. I reached out to anybody that I could reach out to try to get assistance with these things. But because they were over $1,000 and because funds are limited with places like that, I couldn't get any help. And like I said, you know, it's been a battle. It really has. But as it is, we don't have anything. this is all we've got. As I did say, the property taxes are going to be paid this week. Actually, the deposit is shown pending for tomorrow. To be able to pay the back taxes on this house and be able to get it signed over. Once I get it signed over, I've been informed that I can pay $155 to the city to be able to get the water reconnected. And to my understanding, because I've also reached out to get an inspection done on the meter box outside to have the power line reran, I'm being told that I have to have water in order to do that. So the plan, hopefully before the end of the week, is to have both the water connected, the water paid to be connected, as well as the property taxes being paid, and this being an official signed over deed. But for sure, before the end of the week, the property taxes are supposed to be paid. I reached out to the person who's helping me with that today to see if there was anything, towards the deposit having a definite date, and he did say that it was pending for tomorrow. I tried to scrounge up some money to go ahead and pay it today. I couldn't. So I feel like whenever it comes to the whole nuisance situation, I do feel like we're being harassed to a certain extent. Yes, I'm not saying all calls were harassment, by no means. But calling, making accusations that we're out there shooting a gun and officers coming out and kind of interrogating us. Whenever I tell them, I called them over to my house. They were across the street. I called them over to the house and I said, hey, I'm assuming I know what you're here for, 3 loud booms. And they said, yeah. So the city won't come out, pick up trash because the water's been disconnected. I spoke to the inspector, asking if there was any way that we could just pay to have the trash picked up, because I understand what that looks like. It looks like a mess. But having no vehicle and not really having anybody that will do anything for me, not having anybody with a truck, it's kind of hard to put bags of trash in a car and take them to the landfill. So trash gets bagged up. It gets sat out at the road because, what else am I supposed to do with it? Somebody had made a mishap and threw some napkins and some papers that were laying out in the yard in the fire pit. One of the things that was in that wad that they had in their hands was an inhaler. When the fire got lit, mind you, it's in a pit, it follows all of the guidelines, whatever. The aerosol container on the inhaler went off. And it did make a loud boom. But they were called out here for gunshots. And it wasn't gunshots, but I was treated like I was a criminal for that. A search warrant was executed, I think October the 30th of last year. Whenever they came in, the only thing that was found was paraphernalia. Since then, there's been none of that. Just because I'm a previous drug user doesn't mean that I still am. Like I said, I have kids in custody that I'm trying to get back. I've spent so much time and so much effort trying to do this the correct way, trying to do it the easiest way that wasn't going to cost literally everything we had. And this is where I'm at. So, do with that what you will. But thank you for taking the time to hear me out and do I need to sit or?
You're finished speaking, you can sit, you can take a seat, yeah. Unless anybody has any questions for you. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor, and we've reopened, so is anybody else wanting to speak at the public hearing that has anything to offer for this? Okay.
I just want the Chloe to be aware that her outstanding water bill is $3,564.49. This was provided to me today by the water department. So I just want you to be aware it's over $3,000.
Can I ask you a question? I don't know how this works. how am I being held accountable for something that was done in my mother's name? Whenever I went to the water department the other day, she told me that it would be $155 if I could show her documentation that the house had been signed over to me.
That'd be up to management and the water department to make that determination. Thank you.
They told me as long as my mother wasn't living at the home, that it would only be $155 to get it turned on.
Do you want to ask that in a little bit louder?
Michael, can you speak to that, please?
Thank you. That is correct. If the person whose account that it's in has left the home, then that person is liable for that account. And so if the property has been properly transferred to someone else, then they do have the right to establish service at whatever fees that service would be. There is the question I can't answer right now is the fact that we had to remove the meter itself and the setter. I believe that even the setter was removed from this property, and we have a charge for installing that. So that would be something that we'd have to look at as to whether or not there would be a charge involved in that, because it would be considered a new service at this point. But we can confirm that tomorrow regarding those issues.
The other thing that you need to look at too is whenever this service was removed, sometimes those charges become liens on the property as well, like your other city liens. And if that's the case, they follow the property, not the person. So that's something that we need to look at.
And in order to change ownership, wouldn't those have to be satisfied?
So they're supposed to be satisfied to change ownership. However, she issued a non-warranty deed, is what she has said. The non-warranty deed says, I am giving you this property subject to any and all outstanding liens.
Okay.
Can I just ask a question? Thank you for being here. I don't think that I haven't done a lot of these either, so I have a bunch of questions too. When it says consideration of ordinance to repair or demolish, that's we get to pick. Is it repair? What does that mean?
Typically you put a date, time certain, that
Okay.
if the repairs are not made, then we would move towards demolition.
Okay.
So you can set that, you can table it, you could table this to get additional answers based on new information provided. You can extend the period from 30 days, 60 days, 90 days for the repairs to take place, and then have a second hearing on it. I mean, the choices are very broad that you have options to do, but you have to give direction as to what it is that you're proposing to do through your action.
Okay.
Let me stop us right here. We've got a motion and a second on the floor, so we need to dispose of that motion in some way.
Mr. Mayor, point of information, who made the second?
Who did?
I did.
Yeah, okay. All right. Are you ready to vote? Okay. If you vote in the affirmative, then you're voting to demolish the house. If you vote in the negative, you're voting not to demolish the house at this time. So you may record your vote. Okay, the affirmative is 4, the negative is 2. So the demolition, the demolition ordinance has been approved.
Can I ask why?
I don't know.
No, that's already over. Thank you, though. I'm sorry, but the council has spoken. We're now down to item B, generic first public hearing. This is for the North Carolina Department of Commerce Community Development Block Grant. And this is our first hearing for these, so it's a generic hearing. So I declare this public hearing open and ask if anyone would speak to this to come forward, please. No, you can approach if you want to speak to the CDBG program. Yeah.
My name is Kelly Johnson in the Holly Hill area. And good evening, everybody. So this is my first meeting actually of the year, and I didn't know this was going to be on the topic. However, I'm not sure what the details are, but it is very coincidental that I have been mentored by the High Point CDBG, Miss Michelle McNair. It is in my intent, matter of fact, it's sitting in my email in the draft, that I would have approached you to ask for the leadership of a CDBG department. And here we are. And so no matter what you're going to talk about, no matter how you're going to consider, I am saying now verbally, and it will be followed up in document, that you consider me, number one, my expertise, and number two, my community report, and number three, the mentorship from one that is well on the way of activity and many years of service, High Point, over 20 years, where she has established a CDBG on the corner of 4th and Washington Street in High Point. I feel that I'm well able, even if it is not to direct that department, I can at least be an interim person. I have already considered those who I would like to follow up even as staff until you guys choose who you desire. So definitely that was one thing I was going to bring to you guys into next month. So
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. This hearing tonight is, we call it the generic hearing, because any CDBG requests, you have to have two public hearings, and one of them can be a generic hearing like it's taking place tonight. And then if we get a request for a CDBG grant, then we will have the second hearing. So that's all we're doing tonight, is getting the first hearing out of the way. Yes. So is anyone else like to speak to this? Okay, what's the pleasure? Wait a minute, let me close the public hearing now. And I don't need a vote, so I'll back up on that too. So the generic public hearing has been heard and will be in the record. Okay, we're now down to item 6, consent agenda. I recognize our city manager, Mr. Brandt.
Thank you, Mayor. Your consent agenda consists of 5 items this evening. The first, A, is approval of the minutes from February 10th, 2025 briefing meeting. Item B is approval of your February 17th, 2025 regular meeting. Item C is consideration of a temporary road closures for the following events: the Liberty Primary School Parade of Excellence, May 23rd from 9:45 to 12:30 p.m., and the Memorial Day Parade on May 26th from 7:30 a.m. to noon. And the last item is item D, approval of the Alcohol Beverage Control Board travel and transportation policy.
Okay, I want one point of clarification before we vote on this. The Parade of Excellence has usually been the primary school.
Right, Liberty Primary.
No, it's not Liberty Drive, it's
sorry.
Thomasville Primary School.
Thomasville Primary.
Okay.
Sorry, I got the two combined.
All right, that's fine.
They used to be combined.
They did. Okay, having heard this, concerning the consent agenda, what's the pleasure of council?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve our consent agenda as read.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, you may record your votes. We have 6-0, so the consent agenda has been approved. We're now down to regular agenda. Item A, consideration of resolution awarding badge and service sidearm to retiring law enforcement officer Tony Lewis. I'm going to ask the police chief if he'll join me down front. So it will help get it on the tape. Lieutenant Lewis is not with us here tonight, but in his place is going to be the chief, and he's going to be sure that he secures these things to him. So I will read this resolution concerning this. City of Thomasville, resolution awarding badge and service sidearm to retiring law enforcement officer Lieutenant Tony Lewis. Whereas North Carolina General Statutes 20-187.2 provides that retiring members of municipal law enforcement agencies may receive, at the time of their retirement, the badge worn or carried by them during their service with the municipality. And whereas North Carolina General Statute 20-187.2 further provides that the governing body of the municipal law enforcement agency may, in its discretion, award a retiring member the service sidearm of said member. And whereas Lieutenant Tony Lewis has served the City of Thomasville Police Department for 28 years. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Thomasville, North Carolina, that the city manager is hereby authorized, in accordance with the provisions of North Carolina General Statute 20-187.2, to transfer to Lieutenant Tony Lewis the badge worn by him as well as his service sidearm, a Sig Sauer P320, serial number 58J168643, duly adopted this 17th day of March 2025 while in regular session. Signed, Raleigh York Jr., Mayor. So I asked approval of this resolution. So do I have a motion that we approve this resolution as I've read it?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the resolution as you stated.
Okay, now is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all approving this, please let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
If you're opposed, no. So the council has approved this through the general statutes, and Lieutenant sidearm and his badge, and here's the proclamation, the resolution to go along with that.
Thank you, Mayor.
So I'll let you have the podium now, and you can speak about Lieutenant Lewis.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, for that resolution. Today we recognize Lieutenant Tony Lewis for his 28 years of dedicated service to the Thomasville Police Department and our community. Throughout his career, Lieutenant Lewis has been a leader, mentor, and dedicated public servant, always upholding the highest standards of integrity and professionalism. His impact extends beyond law enforcement. He has built lasting relationships, mentored countless officers, and strengthened the trust between our department and the community. His leadership and commitment to public safety has left an enduring legacy that will continue to shape our department for years to come. Now, in true Lieutenant Lewis fashion, he's taken on one more challenge: hiking the Appalachian Trail to celebrate his retirement. Just as he led with determination and resilience in his career, he's now embracing this new journey with the same unwavering spirit. We have no doubt he will conquer this adventure just as he has every challenge before. On behalf of the Thomasville Police Department and this council, we extend our deepest gratitude to Lieutenant Lewis. We wish him safe travels, breathtaking views, and a well-earned retirement filled with adventure and joy. For those that may be interested in tracking his progress, you can subscribe to his YouTube channel at Tony Lewis, KG4TAH. Lieutenant Lewis, thank you for your service. You will always be part of this department. Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Now down to item B, consideration of bylaws of the following city boards: ABC Board, Golf Advisory Board, and Historic Preservation Commission. I recognize our Personnel Chair, Councilmember Hunter Thrift.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Personnel Finance Committee and Council have been reviewing our bylaws for our committees that we have here in the city. We've been trying to get a more uniformed set of bylaws for all of our committees and to adjust them as we need to based on the needs for those. So what we're asking for tonight is approval of the ABC Board, the Golf Advisory Board, and the Historic Preservation Commission bylaws.
Thank you very much. What's the pleasure of council?
Was that in form of a motion?
Yeah, we'll do mine in the form of a motion if that's okay.
I have one comment. Unless we got another piece of paper that I don't have, the draft ABC Board bylaws, because of approving the travel policy earlier, we were going to remove number 7 on the, did that get? Okay, fantastic.
Okay.
I
Okay.
second your motion.
So we have a motion, a second, any discussion? Okay, you may record your vote. And it has been approved, 6-0. Item C is the discussion of Palace Theater, new information. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. As we discussed during our committee's meeting, there was an effort to do a study of the potential for a community event type space in the downtown using the old, the former Palace Theater. It's an old building, but it's a former Palace Theater. At that time, we had prices from 2 different companies. One was for about $8,500. The other one was for close to $40,000, or $30,000. The council at that time indicated that they were good with the lower price one, felt like the services were the same, except there was concern because there was going to be no travel to Thomasville. Staff did reach out to that company, and the person is a self-proprietor and is unable to travel, so is not able to come to Thomasville, would want to do everything through Teams meetings, Zoom meetings, or phone calls to do the work, which is quite honestly why it saves money. The other company would travel here at the cost of, within their budget was an $8,000 travel cost, but that did not include living expenses while they were here. So that would add additional funds to it. Now, council talked about potentially going up as high as $20,000 for that study with the first company if they were willing to travel here, but they're not. So we tried to offer various, could we tag team with you? Is there a way that we can work and maybe find a local person that would act as your liaison? And we felt like potentially staff could do that, Tourism Commission staff and council could try to do that. There was some hesitation about that. I'm not, wasn't able to get, this is all in motion, but the key is they're not gonna be able to travel here. So I don't know if council wants to still move forward with that company under those conditions, or think about it, and in April we have further discussion on it.
Okay, what's the pleasure of council?
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion that we go ahead and move forward with the second company that was introduced with the $30,000 that would allow for us to be able to.
39,000 plus an additional.
And we only approved 20.
Right. That's
So they would have to come up with the other 19.
And
I don't see that
they're not. I can tell you right now that neither Pace nor tourism will pay that much money. They'll put in some money, but they're not going to put in that significant amount. So I'm sorry.
Well, we have a motion. Is there a second? I don't hear a second, so that motion dies for lack of second. Now, is there any further discussion or thing?
In spite of the fact that I'll be pleasantly down under in Australia at our April committee meetings and won't be present, I trust this council to use good judgment, and I would love to see you discuss that further at committee rather than trying to make a hasty decision.
Everybody good with that? Okay. Thank you very much. All right, we're now down to item 8, closed session. We have tonight closed session for personnel, as well as to discuss premature disclosure, to avoid premature disclosure of an award. So do I have a motion of going to closed session?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, we have a motion to second. Any discussion? Okay, you may record your votes. And it's 6-0, so we're now in closed session.
Good to see you, Winnie. Bye, Winnie. Bye, Kelly.